Okay, so let's move on to the last pillar. We only have a couple minutes left, and this is the best part, right? This is the cake, the freedom. So let's give a little bit of background info on this and how does this actually manifest inside of Netflix? I know, for example, there's no vacation policy. You don't need to get approvals for things. So it really is kind of, I don't want to say Pinocchio's Island, but it's very free.
Pinocchio's Island. I haven't heard that before. Okay, that's right. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. So there's three kind of categories of processes or control mechanisms at most companies that you won't find in this type of environment. So the first is, as we said earlier, the vacation policy is take some. So every employee decides how much they want to take. But beyond that, the expense policy is act in the company's best interest. So anybody at any level can purchase a new computer or sign off on $1 million, whatever, a sales deal, whatever they need to do to get things done without getting sign-offs from other people in the organization. So that's the first category. But I would say those are symbols. Those policies, those are just symbols that say, dear employees, we trust that you will behave like adults. Okay. And in doing so, then they start behaving more like adults. Right? Yeah. The cycle of what we call freedom and responsibility. But then moving on, I think more interestingly is that at Netflix, there are no KPIs. There are no management by objectives, and there's no pay per performance bonuses. So probably most people in your audience don't think of those as control mechanisms, but they are, right?
With the KPIs, right away, I was like, what? No KPI.
No KPIs?
That's standard for that's standard for so many organizations around the world. Is everybody says, what are your key performance indicators? What are your metrics? How are you going to be measured? So I'm very, very interested in how the company operates without having KPIs.
But KPIs are horrible for organizational flexibility, right? The thing is that in today's world where the environment shifts so quickly, KPIs are the worst, and they're a clear remnant of the industrial era. Right? Yep. In the industrial era, we could set our goals in January, right? And we'd work all year long on the same goals. And when the next January came around, those goals were still relevant. Right? But the problem in today's organizations is if you do an annual KPI, things change so much, and it forces your employees to keep moving in the same direction instead of changing direction with the environment around them. The image is it's like a ship in the sea. An organization is like a ship in the sea that builds up barnacles over time. And those barnacles are the processes that tell your employees, what they should do and when they should do them by. People get really good at following those. I know I'm going to be measured in 8 months in this way, and I know that I have to do this, and then I'll get rewarded in this way. But then as the ship needs to change direction, those barnacles make it much slower to move. Yeah. So an organization that doesn't have KPIs or pay per performance bonuses, which are even worse, right, as far as organizational flexibility goes, is an organization that's much more agile, that's much more able to change direction as things change around them.
I love that analogy of the ship and the barnacles.
And then I think but the good stuff when it comes to the freedom is the decision-making approval. Should we move on to that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so because I know you said we only have a few minutes left, and I don't want to not have time for the tree, Jacob.
All right, let's go for it.
So I think the most intriguing thing that I came across during this work was to recognize that at most organizations, the decision-making model is a pyramid, right? So you have the chairman who's at the top of that pyramid, who's making the big decisions, and then you have the low-level employees at the bottom, and they can make small, inexpensive decisions, but for anything important or expensive, it has to be pushed up the pyramid, right, for approval, right? Yep. And that's, of course, the pyramid comes from the industrial era. right? But at Netflix, they have an image of a decision-making tree. And with the decision-making tree, you have the chairman who's down there in the dirt, right? She's there like watering the roots, right? Setting the direction for the company, saying this is our North Star. These are all of the things we need to be keeping in mind as we're making decisions in the organization, the principles we need to be aware of. And then we have the top executives. They're there at the big trunks of the tree, right? Setting more direction and context, helping their employees make decisions. But then you have the lower level employees, like those mid-level or low-level managers who are up there in the little branches at the top leaves. And those are the people who are making the sometimes multi-million-dollar decisions on a daily basis. Those are the decision makers, right? Keeping in mind all of the context that's been set for them. So there's two just sayings that we'll kind of wrap up with. One is, don't seek to please your boss. Seek to do what's best for the company, right? And the other is lead with context, not control.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the image that we can have for organizations of the future. Not the bottleneck of the pyramid, but that open and more creative growth of a tree.